Am I the a-hole for not being a team player within my family so my siblings can have the best? My parents resent me for being born. They were 19 when they had me, and I ruined their plans for college and their lives. They kept me, but they told me the heat of the moment when I asked too much from them that they have expressed their resentment for me. My parents had my brothers and sisters starting when I was 8. Now I'm 17 and they have 5 kids, me included. They love my siblings, and they go above and beyond for them. Always have. And they expect me to not only be okay with that, but they want me to also go above and beyond for them. They have told me I'm not a team player, that I am not a good sister, and that I am not doing what I should as the oldest. I work and go to school. I babysit as a side gig too. I have money that I save, but I never spend it on my siblings, and it drives my parents crazy. I have been paying for my own food for the last 2 years, and I don't really interact with anyone. It came to a head about a week ago when my 7-year-old sister wanted a specific Halloween costume after she was teased for the one my parents bought her. My parents couldn't afford a new one and asked me to buy her whatever she wanted. I said no. My sister ended up asking me herself because mom and dad couldn't. And when I said no again, my parents blew a fuse and said I wasn't being a team player and I should want my siblings to have the best. They said I should love my siblings enough to make their lives the best possible, and that I should stop being selfish and immature. I told them they should have been better parents and created a family instead of making me the outsider. And that is not my job to ensure their favorite children get the life they never wanted to provide for me. They said it's not their fault they didn't want to have me. I told them it wasn't mine either, that I had no say in being born or being kept. I said I do have a say in what happens when I turn 18, and to hell with them because I was not going to keep being punished for my birth. My siblings heard the fight, and I can see they're upset that I'm not more loving and invested in them. I guess that's why I ask, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, not in the slightest. You were not responsible for your birth. They were. It's not fair for them to consistently punish you for not acting as a third parent to their subsequent offspring. Parentification at its finest. It needed to be said. What your sibling heard was collateral damage from the truth. It would have come out one way or another. At least they found out and can adjust their expectations. It seems like the parents are growing increasingly resentful that Opie's getting to the age they were when they had Opie, and yet doesn't have to sacrifice her life for a kid. So they're trying to make Opie do exactly that. Not the a-hole. They are being hypocrites. They resent you for ruining their lives, but they had 4 other kids aside from you, and they seem to be happy to have these other kids. If they willingly had other kids, then they can't have anything against you. They weren't a team player when not including you in the family. They were expecting you to use your hard-earned money to pay for something they want, since they couldn't get their lives together. I'm so sorry your biological parents treat you like some outsider of a benefactor and servant, who's supposed to serve and provide for their family. They are wrong, period. You're not a parent and don't deserve to be expected to be one. They expect gratitude for 17 years of mistreatment, but you are not obligated to validate their unjust demands and insane delusions. Don't let them guilt you into sacrificing yourself. Your parents scapegoated you for their poor decisions, which is a truly disgusting thing of them to have done. I do have sympathy for the younger kids as they seem to be caught in the middle of this, and as a result are missing out on an older sibling and all the cool benefits that can come along with that. Opie should get the hell out of that situation as soon as humanly possible, but should also try to connect with her siblings. Just as Opie had no choice, neither did they. As long as the children aren't entitled or treat Opie any differently, they are their own persons and may want a totally different and far more positive relationship. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not giving my adopted parents the money they needed I got from my dad's parents? So I always had a great relationship with my parents. I was adopted at birth and told when I was a toddler. Everything was fine until I turned 16/17. My parents were both in their late 30s and decided it wasn't too late, and that with the advance of fertility technology in the years, it is possible they could still have a biological baby. I was a bit hurt they wanted a biological child so badly, especially after years and years, and told them they should foster, but they said no. They wanted another try. A lot of their word choices hurt me. I'm now 23. They have been trying for a baby using IVF and other methods to no avail. My mother is now 46. Not trying to be ageist or anything, but it can be hard to conceive even with fertility treatment. When my parents, who went from being doting and loving to now contacting me twice a month since I moved out at 21, invited me over for dinner, I was so happy, got ready and everything, and drove an hour and a half away. To my surprise, the dinner was just an excuse for my parents to ask me if I could carry one of their last embryos for them, and that they would help me pay off my student loans. I was so offended and felt like an incubator. They barely speak to me, and they only invited me to ask me that 10 minutes into it. I left their house in tears. Sadly, just a week later, my grandfather, Dad's dad, passed away. After the funeral, I told my grandma why I wasn't talking to my parents at the service since we were always close, and she was so shocked at what they asked me. She told me she'd give me the money they promised to my dad from my grandfather's insurance to pay off my loans. When my parents found out, they've been texting me begging me to give them just a portion of the money for their treatments. They wouldn't even need me and they'd hire a surrogate and that they were sorry. I said no, and now they've been calling me the biggest a-hole and saying I'm being greedy. Even some families say I'm being too hard by not giving them anything. Haven't even gotten the money yet, and me and my grandma are being painted out as the major a-holes. Are we? I only have money left over I pay my loans, but they aren't much. It has been their dream for years, and I'm overreacting by the request. I'm so sorry your parents are being like this. You did nothing wrong. They have no claim to your body like that. Being a surrogate for family is something you should do because you want to, not because they're holding money over your head. Now that I'm getting the money, they're saying it's not about that they asked me to carry their baby. I'm just being selfish because I want to be the only child. Even though that's not why I just feel hurt, they'd ask me that like I'm not their daughter. It's cemented that they don't see me as their daughter anymore. They're begging my grandma to give me only exact enough for my loans, and giving them the rest like they were promised. I feel bad because my mom was crying about it and she said she regrets asking me, but I feel like she's just saying that because she didn't think my grandma would take the money back. I don't know. I'm conflicted. Don't feel bad, hon. I am appalled at how they treated you, and they should be ashamed of themselves. You don't owe them anything, and good on grandma for recognizing how despicable their behavior has been. They don't deserve a baby after how they treated you. She regrets it because she's not getting what she wants anymore. It doesn't sound like the apologies were coming in when it was just about your hurt feelings. She's 46. However much I get her dream, it is time to call it quits. They got so obsessed they forgot they already had a daughter and neglected you. Now they're trying to use you as an incubator and cash cow for their shriveled up dreams. NTA, NTA, NTA. The selfishness is off the charts here. With a mother at 46, that kid would be almost certain to have some form of permanent health issues or disabilities. Wow. I'm curious as to how they would have paid off your loans if they're crying out for money now. Sounds like something they would have backtracked on, given their behavior. I'm sorry that you're going through this. Your grandma sounds like a great lady. Keep her close and mute the negativity. Their reproductive stuff is not your fault, your issue or your responsibility. Good luck. Next story. Am I the a-hole for making my daughters take my friend's daughter on their trip? My 46 female twin daughters, 21 female Tori and Tammy, are both in college and they're planning to do a 2-week trip to Italy, and I'm paying everything as a birthday gift. My best friend Diane has a daughter, 18 female Lori, and she has been worried because Lori has no friends. My daughters and Lori used to be closer when they were little, but grew apart when they became teenagers. Diane asked me if my daughters could try to include Lori in their social lives so she isn't lonely all the time. I called Tammy about this, and she felt bad about Lori, so she has been talking more to her since. They invited Lori to their dorm one time and go out with her a few times. I thought that the next step was to invite Lori to the trip to Italy. First, I talked with Diane about it and she agreed. She said that Lori has been happier since she started seeing my daughters again. Diane said that if my daughters agreed, she would pay for Lori to go to Italy with them. But when I talked to them, they were not happy with the idea. They say that Lori is too childish and would prevent them from having more adult fun in Italy. I think they are being really selfish and mean. Also ungrateful to me, considering I'm paying for everything. We have been arguing, and I more or less said that Lori is going with them, even if they don't want to. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. You're the a-hole. Your daughters are grown-up young ladies. We shouldn't be making playdates for them anymore. They might enjoy Lori's company for dinner or an outing, but they don't want to spend 2 weeks with her. You are giving a gift with strings attached, which is not a nice thing to do. Heck, I have some fantastic friends that I'm close to but I'm not interested in traveling with. Our respective personalities wouldn't make us good travel buddies, and that's okay. It doesn't mean we're not good friends. Can we also focus on there maybe being a real reason this girl doesn't have any friends? I guess it's her copter mom. Probably micromanaged her friend group so intensely that Lori has no clue how to make her own friends. Mom, you're the a-hole. I appreciate your kind mom's heart that feels for that 18-year-old, but your daughters are 21, and there's a big difference in those 3 years. It's not ungrateful at all. It's a gift you chose to give them. They didn't ask for it. Why should they have to accommodate someone else on their trip and be responsible for her? Lori has no friends, but it isn't your daughter's responsibility to make up for that. Please let them go on a trip for their birthday by themselves. It's not fair. Lori can learn to make her own friends. Those girls have already done as you asked and included her in their regular social lives. Let them go to Italy. This right here. Let your daughters have their time together and don't force them to bring someone along they don't particularly want to. If you do, they'll just end up resenting you every time they remember the trip. The biggest mistake you made was to talk with Diane about Lori going before you spoke to your daughters. General rule, always clear this kind of thing first with the folk who are impacted most if it goes through, and last with the folks who are impacted most if it doesn't go through. This way, if your twins reject the idea, like they have, then Lori doesn't have any hopes built up that get dashed. I just hope Diane ever told Lori about it, otherwise this will crush her. What's worse is that Lori will blame Tori and Tammy, and this will drive a wedge between them and their relationship. Hell, it's a no-win, even if you do end up forcing Lori to go to Italy with Tori and Tammy. Lori isn't stupid, she'll realize that she isn't wanted there. All forcing her to go will do is breed more resentment. Tori and Tammy versus Lori for her intruding on what should have been a sister's trip, and Lori versus Tori and Tammy for not wanting her there. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not visiting my parents when my sister is around with her kid? I, 25 female, have 2 sisters, 28 female and 31 female. My oldest sister has a kid. I'm also planning on having kids in the future, and I love kids, but sometimes I get exhausted around them. I love my own kid, and I'm hoping to be the best mother ever, but I can't stand the expectation that I have to constantly like other people's kids and always be willing to care for them no matter what. Let's call the middle sister Kate and the oldest Jenny. Jenny has totally changed since having a kid. She used to want to stay child-free, but after an unplanned pregnancy, she decided to keep the kid, and she is now a stay-at-home mom. But since then, she's not the greatest person. She expects everyone to be her maid and her kid's babysitter. When she's around, she expects everyone to be 100% focused on her kid, and if you're not, she'll shame you for being a child hater. She's unbearable. My sister Kate has always been a people pleaser, and she does everything to seem like the good sister and aunt, even if it means putting her own needs aside. That's her choice, and I don't necessarily mind, but I'm not like that. I play with a kid, care for the kid, but I can't always be running behind a kid at all times. Whenever my sister is visiting my house, she's never checking her kid and expects everyone else to do so. Same thing when she visits my parents. The last time she visited my place, her kid broke a vintage porcelain doll my fiancé had gifted me, which used to belong to his grandma. It was very sentimental. And when my sister barely reacted to the kid breaking my doll, she also said I'm not a kid to be sad over a fricking doll and told me to get over it. She blamed me for not watching her kid, and if I had watched her, she wouldn't have broken my doll. I told her that unless she starts caring for her own kid, she won't be allowed in my house. A few days later, I had visited my parents. Jenny was there and so was Kate. Kate was always making comments about how heartless I am because I don't pay attention to the kid. She accused me of hating the kid and claimed she's the better aunt. Jenny laughed with Kate about it. They then started making fun of me for being sad about the doll. I said it's not just about the doll, but about the expectations she put on other people. My parents and my sister Kate sided with Jenny and said I should be grateful she's warming me up just in time to also be a mom. I said I've had enough of being bullied into watching her kid. And while I love the kid, I won't visit my parents whenever Jenny's around because I feel exhausted both physically and emotionally when the mocking takes place. They said I'm being dramatic and I should get over myself. They claim I'm also a child hater if I refuse to watch and play with the kid all the time. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your family sounds exhausting. I've never understood why people think they don't need to supervise their own kids just because there are other adults in the same area/house. Her kids are her responsibility. Even if someone else is playing with their child, it's still up to the parents to monitor their behavior and correct them and generally meet their needs, like food and hydration and toileting needs, etc. I'm exhausted because I'm blamed for not being behind her kid 24/7. When I dare have my own interests and life, I'm accused of not loving her kid. They even say that to the kid that Aunt X doesn't love you as much Aunt Kate loves you more, which is ridiculous. They're conditioning the kid to see me as someone who doesn't love her. Yes, refuse to be around your sister, who is entitled and a bully. If your parents or other sister give you crap when you visit, calmly say you refuse to be manipulated and leave. No drama, yelling or flouncing out the door. Just calmly say, okay, gotta go, and do it. Every single time. If they still won't stop, even knowing you'll leave when they start up, they've demonstrated that they don't value you as a person, only someone to push around. Then you'll have no qualms at going low contact. I'm sorry, but your family sounds awful. You should be grateful she's warming you up. No. Her kid, her responsibility. It would be different if she specifically asked you to watch her kid for a certain period of time, like if she had to run an errand. But she just can't assume everyone in eyesight is now automatically a babysitter, and she can relax and ignore the child. Not stay whole for setting and enforcing boundaries. She and my parents shame me for not keeping my eye on kid 24/7 whenever I'm around my sister. They tell the kid that I don't love her. My sister doesn't work and she's responsible for her house and her kid, yet expects everyone else to do the work for her. She only goes out for coffee and drinks with her friends and expects my mom to babysit my niece all the time. And my mom also cleans my sister's house and cooks for her and her husband. My sister and her husband do nothing to care for their own house and family.
Update. Am I the a-hole for calling my friend a hypocrite when he told me the reason he filed for divorce? Original post. Last night I met up with some friends I hadn't seen in a long time. Let's call them Chad and Kyle. We were drinking, chatting, and having fun, and all of a sudden, the mood changed. Somehow the topic turned to Chad's recently finalized divorce. I hadn't seen him in a while, so I was unaware he was getting a divorce. When I asked him why they got divorced, the conversation, as I remember it, went something like this. Chad, she cheated on me. Me, trying to stifle a laugh. You're serious? You, of all people? You cheated on her with multiple people over the years. And when she does the same, you divorce her? Chad, it's not the cheating. It's the lack of respect. I made sure to respect her, so she never knew about my cheating. But she couldn't give me that same respect. Me, that's not respect. That's your ability to hide your cheating versus hers. Respect would be not cheating on her. Chad, so you're saying what she did is all right? Me, no, I'm not. I'm saying you, the serial cheater, are a hypocrite for immediately divorcing her for cheating. Somehow Kyle got us to calm down and change the subject. When I got up to take a leak, they went back to the topic. I came back, and they were talking about why Chad thought it was okay for him to cheat. In his mind, the cheating was good for the sex life with his now ex-wife and their marriage. Some things he said were, if you have sex outside, you'll work harder in bed with your wife. Sex in a marriage gets boring, so if I go get some excitement outside, I can work on the rest of the marriage. I kept making remarks like, I bet she thought the same when she did it. Apparently, I wouldn't understand because I'm not married. But I don't have to be married to understand loyalty and respect. Kyle is married and has said he's in a bit of a slump with his wife. While my advice is to do something new and interesting with his wife, Chad is explaining why his cheating worked to make his marriage exciting. No, I don't condone what Chad's wife did, but I do think he's a hypocrite for divorcing his wife for cheating when he is a serial cheater. I don't know Chad's ex-wife. I've only met her twice, but knowing him, she's better off without him. When we left, I told Kyle, if you want your wife to divorce you and get majority custody of your son, you should listen to Chad. Anyway, I'm going to the kitchen now. I promised my Lexi I would make a shepherd's pie today. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole, but why are you still friends with a cheater? He knew you knew about the cheating. He probably thought you were okay with it on some level. Not only is he not sorry for what he did, he defends it. Why see this POS at all? Why do you care what he thinks? His cheating character is the reason I haven't seen him in a long time. Also, the reason friend is in quotation marks in the title. He knew I was never okay with his cheating. Also, the reason why he kept a distance from me. Meeting last night was because of Kyle. Tell Kyle's wife that Chad is telling him to cheat on her so she can decide whether or not they want Chad in their life anymore. While I understand where you are coming from, this is not a good idea. Currently, Kyle is just talking to try to reignite the marriage. He is not doing anything wrong. Kyle is not a cheater, but I know he looks up to Chad. So I'm talking to him, steering him away from the cheater's path. If I tell his wife now, I'm planting a seed of doubt in her mind. That will not end well. His cheating character is the reason I haven't seen him in a long time. Also the reason friend is in quotation marks in the title. He knew I was never okay with his cheating. Also the reason why he kept a distance from me. OP, you didn't want to do the honorable thing and tell the cheater's wife. You've made yourself look heroic with your tale of calling out the cheater when it really didn't matter anymore, when you could have done something much earlier by disclosing to the wife. You want a timeline? Chad and I used to be friends in our teens and 20s. I've distanced myself from Chad for 15 years now. Chad got married about 12 years ago. In those 12 years, I met the now ex-wife twice. I wouldn't be able to pick her out of a lineup. How do I know Chad cheated? Because I ran into him at numerous work events, and he kept bragging about the different women he had. And I kept calling him a POS. How do you think I should have talked to the wife? You don't know me, but I was a friend of your husband years ago. I just want to tell you he's cheating on you. Do you think she would listen to a stranger? It's easy to say, you should have told the wife, but in reality, it's not that easy to say something they don't want to hear. Now for the update 8 months later. Not necessarily an update of the situation, just an update on the people involved. Not long after the post, Kyle distanced himself from Chad. He said Chad was pushing him in a direction he didn't want to go, so he stepped back. Kyle is a nice guy, and we've become closer friends. He listened to some friends about how to spice up his relationship with his wife, and it worked. They are expecting a second child. Kyle hopes it's a girl. Kyle wanted to do one more thing before having a second child. He wanted a ride with his boys. So this weekend, we are renting a few hogs and going on a ride. He invited 6 friends, and I've added 2 more experienced riders. He's calling it the bachelor party he never had. The girlfriends and wives of the riders are having their own party that weekend. About Chad, I haven't seen him since that post. I've heard some rumors, none of them good. A few days ago, I heard what happened to him. About a month ago, Chad was shot and killed. I only just found out, so obviously I didn't go to the funeral. Kyle was also not aware this had happened. Chad was sleeping with a married woman. She was married to someone with a very short fuse and access to guns. I don't know what happened to that woman, but the guy who shot Chad is currently awaiting trial. So that's the update. I'm going to get ready for the weekend. Because we have a lot of inexperienced riders, this will be a non-alcoholic weekend. Wow, Chad was kinda crazy. R.I.P. Chad. Oh no, consequences. Well, Chad clearly wasn't a wise individual. Legit, if I was on the jury for that trial, you couldn't beat a guilty verdict out of me. How weird to be so flippant about a supposed friend of yours getting murdered. We haven't been friends for years. Last time I saw him was 8 months ago. Before that was, I think, 5 years ago. So I'm not devastated he was shot. He wasn't a friend of mine anymore. Whatever helps you sleep at night. I'm sleeping fine. It looks like you're the one having a problem with it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for taking back a gift basket I made for my pregnant friend after finding who the father of her baby is? My 22 female friend, who is the same age as me, recently found out that she's pregnant. She was quite distraught at first since she's not ready for this big of a jump, and she's not sure if the father would commit to her and the baby. We've been friends since high school, and I honestly wanted to be there for her as much as I could, so I made her a little gift basket. She's not very far along, so I just made a basket with a bunch of gifts for her, including some sweet treats, a card, and merchandise from her favorite show. I also added some baby clothes in neutral colors, a baby hat, and some other baby stuff. I came over to her place and she was elated when I gave it to her. She thanked me for helping her through a tough time, and I told her that I'm happy to help her anytime. Well, I was happy to help her until a mutual friend told me she saw her and my ex walking hand in hand after coming from a scan. I asked around a million times if she was sure, and then she showed me a picture my friend had posted on her private Instagram of her and my ex, with a caption saying they can't wait to meet their beautiful baby. If this were another ex of mine, I wouldn't have minded. But the ex she got pregnant by was incredibly abusive. He gave me a black eye, slashed my car tires, and stalked me. He even messaged my dad, asking him if I'd get back with him. My friend knew all of this. She saw the effect it had on my mental health and how it caused me to fear getting into another relationship. Yet she went behind my back and got herself knocked up by an abusive deadbeat. When I saw the pictures, I knew I'd never be friends with her again, and I was fine with that. I'd rather have toxic people out of my life. But one thing I couldn't get over was the money I spent on that basket. So I went over to her place and her sister let me in. I went to her room, took the basket and what items with it I could find, and left a note in its place. It was so embarrassing because I had to run through the back door to avoid being seen, and this whole thing feels immature. Anyway, in the note, I wrote how I felt about her betrayal and told her I wish all the best for her child. That's being brought into the world by an abusive deadbeat and someone who has no loyalty to her friends. I may have phrased that a little differently. I've blocked her everywhere, so I don't know her reaction. I feel like I should have been more civil and gone no contact without an explanation. I don't know if this is a very a-hole situation, but regardless, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Unblock her though. My TV is on the blink and I need the entertainment. My siblings keep telling me to unblock her, but I just don't want to hear her make excuses. However, I also want to see her crash out because knowing her, she's going crazy right now. Was it petty? Sure was. Was it justified? Sure was. It would have been a much cleaner break if you just washed your hands of it, but all you have to do to explain yourself is as follows. Tell people that the father of her child stalked you and physically assaulted you in the past, and that you didn't want anything with your name anywhere near this man because you don't want to give him any excuse to start stalking you again. So you removed any trace of your existence from her home and cut her off completely. And that anyone who chooses to stay in her life, knowing the father of her child is your stalker, will be cut off too. Not the a-hole because she knew and hid it from you. That's just dirty. I don't blame you at all, but I will say you should have left the gift and blocked her from everything, so she knows you know. Then every time she sees that basket, she will feel like crap. When he hits her and she sees that basket, it will hurt more. Or she could have replaced the items in the basket with ice packs, band-aids, and a t-shirt that says, "But he apologized and promised to never do it again." Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex to stop calling me in the middle of the night for non-emergencies with the baby? I, 19 male, have a 10-month-old son with my ex-girlfriend, 20 female. We broke up shortly after our son was born, but we've been trying to co-parent as best as we can. I have my son for 3 days out of the week, while my ex has him the rest of the time because I work full-time to support myself and pay child support. The issue is, my ex has been calling me almost every night, claiming there's some sort of emergency with the baby. At first I would answer immediately and even drive over to her place if she sounded panicked. But after a few weeks, I started noticing a pattern. None of these emergencies were actually serious. One time she called me at 2 a.m. because the baby was crying and she didn't know what to do. Another time, it was because she ran out of formula, even though I had bought her a bulk supply the week before. Most recently, she called me because he had a mild fever, but when I suggested she give him infant Tylenol, she said she didn't have any and expected me to bring some over immediately. I'm exhausted. I wake up at 4 in the morning every day. After the last call, I told her she needed to stop calling me in the middle of the night unless it was a real emergency. I said if she felt overwhelmed, she could call her mom or take him to the doctor, but she couldn't keep relying on me to drop everything. She blew up at me, saying I was being selfish and that as the father, I should always be there for our son. She accused me of not caring about her struggles as a single mom and claimed I was making her feel unsupported. I told her I would always be there for our son in a genuine emergency, but she needs to learn how to handle the day-to-day stuff on her own. Now she's been cold and distant, and some mutual friends think I was out of line for telling her to stop calling, saying I don't understand how hard it is to raise a baby full-time. So, am I the a-hole for setting this boundary? I would ask this to her. Do I call you in the middle of the night on the nights when I have him? Not the a-hole. I would also argue that, with the exception of 24 hours, he's just as much a single father as she is a single mother. He has the baby 3 days a week, meaning she has him for 4. Do all the really big single-parent things happen in that last 24 hours? Unless OP lives with his parents or has 24-hour care, I'd say he feels the strain of single parenthood just as much as she does. Not the a-hole. I'm 35, married and about to have our 3rd child. I don't even turn to my husband as much as she's calling you when something's going on with our kids. She needs to learn how to cope. Just to add, when we had our first baby, I was 25, and my husband and I separated for nearly a year and a half to go to therapy and work on things. I don't think I called him once in the middle of the night during that time. There were no emergencies, or I would have. But if I needed something at 2 a.m., I dragged my own butt out to get it, taking our son along if my mom wasn't already up. I looked on Google. I read parenting books. I asked my own mom for advice. I was working and going to college. If there was anything my husband needed to know, he found out the next day or at a reasonable hour. Being a new single mom is hard, I'll give her that, but your ex is being extremely needy and unfair to you. This isn't about the baby. It seems like she's just trying to do anything to keep you on the hook. You're already doing so much at such a young age. I truly commend you for being a great dad and stepping up. You deserve to have a good night's rest and set boundaries. You deserve to have a life and eventually move on. It's not healthy that she feels the need to call you every night. She might need to talk to her doctor about possibly having postpartum anxiety. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not apologizing for making my half-sister cry? My half-sister is 11 and I'm 15. My parents divorced when I was really young, and my dad got my half-sister's mom pregnant a while after. They didn't get together for real until my half-sister was 3. And then my mom died, so I went to live with the 3 of them. My dad had more kids with my half-sister's mom. I don't know why, but 2 or 3 years ago, my half-sister started telling me I was dumb and stupid and that her mom was my mom. She said it was weird for me to talk about someone else being my mom. I told my dad, and he went and talked to her, but it didn't help. She got worse. She said my mom was just some dead woman, and that her mom was being my mom. I told my dad more times, and he talked to her more times, but it didn't help. So last week, she said the same stuff again, and I told her I have a mom, and she died, but she's my real mom, not hers. She said she isn't my real mom because she died before I was an adult, and that made her mom my mom. She called me a dumbass for not understanding that it works that way. So I told her that if she died before I turn 18, she's not my real sister anymore, and I'll remember that so I don't call her that anymore. She started crying, and her mom heard and asked what had happened. She told her what I said, and her mom told me I didn't need to be a jerk and that she's only 11. I said she told me my mom wasn't my real mom because she died before I turned 18, so I'm just making sure she knows the same will be true if she dies. When my dad got home, he talked to us both and then asked me to apologize and to understand why I was wrong. He said she's younger than me and I really hurt her feelings. I said I didn't care about her feelings since she doesn't care about mine. He told me she still has more learning to do, and if I don't apologize, this will always be between us, even when she does learn. I didn't apologize, and my dad's disappointed, but he said he accepted my stance. My half-sibling's mom, though, she's saying I need to be grounded for not apologizing and for not caring that I hurt my half-sister. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, although I suspect that she's heard it from your stepmom. I could be wrong, obviously, but in my experience, kids repeat whatever they've heard from their parents, especially such a hateful thing. Not the a-hole. Your half-sister and her mom need to understand that just because someone is related to you doesn't automatically make them your family. It takes love, respect, and effort to build a real familial bond. Plus, it's not fair for your half-sister to invalidate your real mother's memory. If they want you to apologize, they should apologize for their hurtful comments towards you first. Not the a-hole. Your half-sister repeatedly disrespected your late mom, despite being told to stop. And while your response was harsh, it was her reaction to her cruelty. An apology should come after she acknowledges how deeply she hurt you first, not just because she's younger. Your dad's right that this rift won't heal without mutual understanding, but that starts with her learning empathy, not you swallowing your grief to keep the peace. I don't know if my dad's going to do everything he can to make her learn it. From what I can see, he expects me to compromise and make it seem okay. But it really isn't. And it's not bringing us closer together like my half-sister wants, but it's making me want to spend as little time as possible with her.
Update. My fiancé invited his ex-situationship to our wedding behind my back. Original post. I, 23 female, am getting married in January and just found out that my fiancé Mark, 25 male, invited his old situationship to our wedding without consulting me. For context, Mark and I met on a dating app 2 years ago, shortly after he had broken up with someone. To be honest, it's quite confusing what he and Tracy, 22 female, had. They met through a mutual friend and developed feelings for each other. Mark told me they never officially dated or slept together, but it was more than just friendship. To this day, he still keeps her love letters and gifts, and sometimes talks about her. After their breakup, they try to stay in contact as friends, but Tracy ghosted him once she found out we had started dating. From what I've seen on her social media, she's currently in a relationship, so I'm not worried about her trying to get back with my fiancé. They haven't been in contact for 2 years, but he still has her phone number and email. I discovered that Mark had invited her to our wedding when I double-checked our guest list and found her name. While I know Tracy isn't a threat to our relationship, the fact that Mark invited her without telling me makes me feel uneasy about the wedding. He insists he doesn't have any feelings for her, yet he went out of his way to send her an invitation. Maybe I'm just being insecure, but I'm starting to worry that he might not be completely over her. I don't want to lose him. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. He's probably not over her, especially since they were never a thing. For him, she might be the one that got away. If I were Opie, I would have a very serious talk with him. I don't get why he is never over her, especially if they were never a thing. From what Mark told me, he was the one who didn't want a relationship, since Tracy just started life. Tell him you don't want her there and that's final. And he better rescind it, or you'll have to rethink the marriage. Because starting a married life by going behind your back is a no-no. To be honest, you need to not stubbornly hold on to someone you can't trust. And you can't trust someone who does things behind your back. Her going to the wedding doesn't make me uncomfortable since I know she won't do anything. The problem is my fiancé and the fact he invited her to the wedding without notifying me. If Mark wanted her there, fine. But I just hate the fact he didn't told me beforehand, and it's making me think he lied about getting over her. Opie, doesn't it make you wonder if he's really over her? He keeps her love letters and the gifts, and he talks about her all the time. I think there's feelings that are still lingering. You better have a serious talk with him. He doesn't talk about her all the time, in some comments from time to time. I believe that is not right to erase her since Tracy was part of his story. But I did get the ick in the beginning when I saw her letters and gifts. First update. After reading the comments and talking with some friends, I finally accepted that Mark never really got over Tracy. At first, I was in denial, but I decided to meet with Tom, 24 male, Mark's best friend for years, to understand what really happened between them. Tom told me that Tracy and Mark met through mutual friends when she had just started university at 17, while Mark was already close to graduating. They stayed friends for 2 years, and during that time, romantic feelings began to develop. Mark was already working, and since Tracy was still in college, he wanted to wait until after her graduation to officially date her. Even though they weren't officially a couple, they exchanged love letters, gave each other gifts, and spent almost every holiday together.
According to Tom, everyone in their friend group thought they would eventually get married because they were so sweet together, so their breakup came as a shock. Tracy was the one who ended things because their religious values didn't align. She wanted to save herself for marriage. They decided it would be better to go their separate ways, with the possibility of trying again in the future. After Mark and I started dating, Tracy realized there was no point in waiting for him any longer, so she began seeing other people and blocked him on everything except email, wanting a fresh start. It became clear to me that Mark was still holding on to hope that Tracy would come back to him someday because of their previous talks about trying again after a few years. This realization hurt so much because I truly loved him. I haven't confronted him yet because I'm still shaken up, and I'm not sure if this marriage will happen. I will update again once I calm down and talk to him. Why have you not asked him why she was added to the invite list yet? There could be a reasonable explanation. I don't want to break down in front of him while asking. I need to cool off first. But you talked to his best friend? You know Tom is going to give him a heads up. I wanted to know the nature of their relationship first. Well, I think a positive is that Tom's version lines up with Mark's. I think you should ask Mark about it before Tom has an opportunity to give him a heads up and for him to make up some reason for the invite. Second update. It's been a while since my last update, and I'm here to announce that the wedding has been called off. My parents are taking care of canceling everything for me, and honestly, it feels like I'm a child again, with mom and dad solving my problems. After talking with Tom, I confronted Mark and laid everything out for him. At first, he was dismissive, almost as if he was trying to escape from the situation. Eventually, he admitted that he never loved anyone like he loved Tracy, because according to him, their relationship was pure and innocent. He said she reminded him that life isn't just about physical desire, and during his darkest times, she was like a ray of sunlight. Hearing the man I love confess how much he loved another woman was beyond hurtful. As he spoke, I broke down, bawling my eyes out. He had the audacity to tell me that he loves me, but it's a different kind of love. When I asked why he invited her to our wedding, he had no response. Why did he have to jeopardize our future for a past relationship? It hurt so much. Mark then admitted that he knew Tracy hadn't blocked him on email because he was the one who helped her get her first job, and there were professional reasons for keeping in touch. That's how he managed to send our wedding invitation, but he claimed he meant no harm. When I pressed him on this, he said he wanted Tracy to see us together and realize what she lost because he was hurt that she was pregnant and not married. The moment he mentioned her pregnancy, an alarm went off in my head. How did you know she was pregnant? I asked. You said she blocked you everywhere. I could see the panic in his eyes as he started to stutter. I demanded to see his phone and found more than 5 accounts he used to stalk Tracy. I felt sick to my stomach, and the urge to vomit was overwhelming. Ultimately, I decided to call off the engagement because I realized he was a creep. Mark threw himself on the floor, begging for forgiveness, saying that he loved me just in a different way compared to Tracy, and was hurt that she had moved on and given herself to another man, despite his countless pleas for intimacy. His sense of entitlement to her body and virginity made me feel even more disgusted. I left without even packing a bag. Everything was too much. I can't believe I spent 2 years loving a stalker, a man-child. I also reached out to Tracy and told her everything, including details about Mark's fake account. I don't know if she's seen my messages yet, but I hope she does. The jealousy I once felt for her has now turned into pity. No woman should have to go through what Mark did. Mark keeps asking to meet up and doesn't want to break up, but I'm just so exhausted. I hope you can heal from this, and you are truly lucky to have found out before the wedding. So many women discover something like this when it's way too late. Or like you, they find out before the wedding but still go through with it, thinking he loves me too. Marriage will make him forget, and they only talk through emails, so it's not that serious. They ignore the giant red flag and don't even dig deep enough to find out that he was also stalking her. I'm sorry you had to encounter something like this. It takes a lot of courage to follow your gut and walk away when marriage is imminent, as you did. You truly are exceptional and know your worth. I am so sorry. This really sucks. You should have your parents get your stuff, and you should stay as far away from Mark as you can. If he is capable of stalking Tracy, he is capable of stalking you. Make sure that there are security cameras at your parents' house, and you should block him. The only bright side is that you found this out before you married him. I'm thinking about leaving the US and going to another country. Social media are not for me, so it's harder for him to stalk me. I don't have anything of great value in Mark's house, except some clothes and makeup, so I don't care if he throws it away. If you need to leave the country, then leave. I've always thought that sometimes when a woman is in a different situation, such as in a DV situation or things of that nature, that if they had left the state or the country, maybe they would have been safe. Be safe from that creep, Mark. Do you look like her at all? Just curious. No, thankfully. Tracy is Asian while I'm white. Third update. I think this is my last update since I've already met up with Tracy and talked about everything that happened. We met at a cafe, and at first, I was really nervous because I wasn't sure how she'd react. Her reply to my invitation was simply, "Hi, let's talk over a cup of coffee." While I waited, I could feel myself sweating with nerves and a flood of emotions. When Tracy arrived, I finally understood why Mark was so obsessed with her. She's easily one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen. She looks pretty in photos, but in person, she's even more stunning. Tracy greeted me and asked if I'd be willing to go to her place to talk, since being out for too long tires her. We ordered coffee to go and the whole situation was super awkward. Here's what she told me. First, she apologized for being the reason I'm now single, though I assured her it wasn't her fault. Tracy said she had received a wedding invitation but wasn't interested in attending, since she's already in a happy relationship and there was no point in revisiting someone from her past. Since the story Tom and Mark told me made me curious, I asked her about staying friends with Mark, as it sounded like she wanted to stay close after the breakup, which didn't match her actions. Tracy looked uncomfortable but explained her side. She said she had genuinely been in love with Mark at first, describing him as protective, trustworthy, handsome, and kind, always showering her with gifts and trips. Things were sweet initially, but over time Mark began pressuring her for sex, so much that she would pretend to be sick just to avoid it. She just didn't want to sleep with him and had a gut feeling, a sixth sense, telling her not to. To avoid a situation, she used her parents' strong religious beliefs as a reason for not having sex, which eventually led to a fight and their breakup, a detail Mark conveniently never shared with me. 2 weeks after they split, they started talking again because Tracy felt she owed him, as he had helped her get a job at a prestigious company and had spent a lot on her, including a Rolex for her 18th birthday. Admittedly, it made me a bit mad since he never spent that kind of money on me. When Tracy found out Mark and I were dating, she was relieved. Finally, she had a reason to block him everywhere, as he'd still occasionally hint at them getting back together. I told her that, throughout my entire relationship with Mark, he would occasionally bring her up. Initially, it felt a bit weird, but I brushed it off because she was part of his past. I also mentioned Mark's numerous fake accounts, which she didn't believe at first until I showed her the ones I knew. It was creepy, as they all had female names, followers, and photos looking very real. Since her account is public, I suggested Tracy make it private. She created a new account using her Korean name and deactivated the old one. We ended up having a nice time and became friends. She's truly a sweet person, and I saw how her boyfriend treats her like a queen. I'm happy she found love and got rid of Mark. Last story. My boyfriend stole my necklace and gifted it to his sister. Original post. Serious advice needed because I am lost. I have been with my boyfriend, whom I'll call Adam, for almost a year now. I met him through my master's degree in the UK. When I was a sophomore in college, I had a long-term boyfriend whom I'll call Kyle, who took his own life. We were together for 3 years, and I would never wish the pain of losing someone like that on my worst enemy. When we started college, Kyle gifted me a locket with the word "most" engraved on the back. It was our thing. It meant he loved me most. Sappy, but it was ours. Since his passing, this locket has been my most valuable possession, and I never go anywhere without it. It is my last piece of Kyle. After finishing my degree and struggling through the entire time, I decided I needed to get out of the town where everything happened and chose to study for my master's degree in the UK, which is where I met Adam. He is the first person I've allowed myself to love since losing Kyle, and I have truly enjoyed our relationship up until now. But if what I suspect is true, I will never be able to forgive him. Adam has always been insecure about Kyle, often asking hypothetical questions like, if Kyle were still alive, would you be with him? And, what do you prefer about me over Kyle? I usually dodge these questions because I don't condone them and don't want to feed into his insecurities. We've had several conversations regarding Adam's negative comments about Kyle. He dislikes it when I post about Kyle on his birthday, death anniversary, or even when I have hard days. He views this as evidence that I don't love him and that I'm still hung up on Kyle. But no matter how many years pass or how much I love Adam, Kyle was my first love, and his life was tragically cut short. He was also my best friend, and I will mourn his life forever even if I have moved on romantically. Adam knows how much the necklace from Kyle means to me, and how devastated I've been for the last 2 weeks, frantically searching our apartment for it. One day, I took a shower and set the necklace in its usual spot. When I came out, it was gone. Adam swears he has no idea where it went and claims it must have fallen somewhere and gotten lost. I've been beside myself, spending nights in tears over losing it. Adam has a sister, whom I'll call Jane, who recently celebrated her 21st birthday. I'm in her private Snapchat story where she posted a picture of the beautiful locket that her big brother got her for a special day. It was the same locket. I know it because it has the same engraving on the back. I don't know how Adam explained that to Jane, but he must have come up with something. Jane and I are not particularly close, so this isn't something I feel I can casually confront her about. I also feel silly bringing it up to Adam in case I'm wrong, and I'm just going insane, looking for excuses because I was careless and lost it. I don't see where else Adam would have gotten this locket, as it was custom-made for me by a small business back in the States. The designer was local to Kyle and me, and her work has always been my favorite. Advice needed. How do I ask Adam about this? I'm sure he'll deny it either way, but this locket means the world to me. I need it back. Thanks. Can I ask, what are your thoughts on his red flag behaviors being jealous of a person who died prematurely? It seems like it didn't occur to you that those are massive red flags before the necklace theft. I have noticed there are red flags. I guess I have just excused them, as Adam is the first person I've found myself having those feelings for again. Also, we share an apartment. He is the name on the lease because he is from the UK and I'm from the States. I'm also a student, trying to scrape together enough money to go back home for a while. I know it's a stupid reason to stay in a disrespectful relationship, but this is a foreign country and I'm mostly alone here. It must be said, your boyfriend Adam is mentally unwell and needs to very quickly become your ex-boyfriend. I would suggest reaching out to Adam's sister and delicately explain the situation to her. If she's even remotely a good person, she will understand and hopefully return the locket. Do you have pictures of the locket? Or pictures of you wearing it? Are the pictures time-stamped? Gather all the evidence you can to prove that the locket is, in fact, yours. Important detail. Do not tell Adam that you are in communication with his sister. Once you get the locket back, cut ties with this man and get him out of your life. Kyle was obviously important to you, and you don't need to justify your grief to anyone. I speak from personal experience. I only have one personal item from my parents' passing, and if my partner stole it from me, that would be the fastest way to become an ex and be completely ejected from my life. I don't intend to stay with my boyfriend. I just need to figure out a way to make sure I get the necklace back. Now for the update. It's been almost 3 weeks since my original post, and I hadn't planned to update. But I've seen a few comments asking for one. A day or two after the initial post, I confronted Adam about the locket. He denied knowing what I was talking about, and accused me of being cold for suggesting he took it. When I asked for receipts or any proof that the locket he gave his sister wasn't mine, he got angry and stormed out of our apartment. Later that night, he returned and tried to gaslight me, claiming I was creating a problem out of nothing and insisting that the necklace he gave his sister didn't have any engraving. However, while he was away, I contacted his mom and told her I had misplaced my locket. I asked if it could have accidentally been taken home by Adam when he was visiting. She got back to me quickly, saying she found my necklace in Jane's gift pile, stashed in a corner. She promised to keep it in her room until she could return it to me, explaining that either she or Jane must have mistakenly put it there. Once I had confirmation from Adam's mom that she had my locket, I booked the cheapest flight home and arranged for her to give me a lift to the airport where she could return the necklace. The fact that I had enough doubt was a sign that this relationship was going nowhere. I just wanted my necklace back. I stayed with Adam until my flight, which was about a week ago. I let him and his mom drive me to the airport. Before leaving, I left a note for Adam, explaining that I was breaking up with him and that my friends would be by to collect my things. I took a leave of absence from university while I figure out where to stay when I get back to the UK, and contacted my landlord about taking my name off the lease. When Adam's mom gave me back my necklace at the airport, his reaction was priceless. He looked like a deer caught in headlights. He was furious, but couldn't show it in front of his mom. Jane hasn't even questioned the missing necklace, and it's been around 2 weeks now. She is rather spoiled, so I doubt she'll ever notice. I'm happy to report that I'm safe and back home with the necklace from Kyle. I just got back from visiting his grave and telling him the entire story, even laughing about it. The whole experience reminded me that I need to hold higher standards for myself in relationships. Thank you all for your love and support.